leaders of this earth by the cup they used to measure by the people they shall be measured with. And they shall fall short, and the Lord's army shall be beside, and they shall fall by the sword of the angels. The Lord speaks that without fairness and justice to the people, power always destroys lives. And properties are destroyed through wicked and evil means. But none of that will ever go unpunished, for that is the decree of the Lord. So when you listen to the word of the Almighty God, and you hear what he's saying more than just a word, and he's telling more than a story. Paul, in his letters to the Romans, you remember that this letter was written to the Romans when the Roman was the superpower of the world. He reminds them and reminded them, because then they did not believe. If you've forgotten at the time this letter was written, it was a time of the year of the Lord. In the first century, when this was written, and it was given to them to remind them, to tell them, because it was at a time the Roman emperor decided to wipe Israel out of the face of the earth, and even changed the name of the Jerusalem, and drove them out, away, to be unknown and into hidden places. And he wrote in them to remind them the prophecy of the Lord. And I give you some more additional word, so that you can see here that when the Lord said, and I want to point out something in the passage that we read. In verse 13 he says, Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. If you go to the book of Malachi, you will see the person that had spoken this. For Malachi wrote this in the book of Malachi in chapter 1 from verse 1 to 3. So somebody might be wondering, maybe, as some people still think today, that God hates Esau. If you listen to the word carefully, he says, loved. Jacob I loved, which is a past tense. Jacob I loved, which is a past tense at the time it was spoken. But does that mean that Jacob did not reconcile with God? No. You will know by studying more that they reconciled. That is why when Peter was writing this to the Romans, he was using a past tense. And even when the prophet spoke about it, he used a past tense. Because the Lord spoke in the past tense. He used to love them, but at the time don't love them no more. Because they have forsaken God, their Father, in their idolatry. They have done the things and broken the covenant that Abraham had with him. And he says, Esau I hated, which means that he used to hate Esau, but now he's loving them. I hated Esau. I want to point that out at the time. Anytime, and you'll be wondering how does that relate to you, the soldiers, anytime you fall out of the state of grace, meaning that you have become disobedient to God and you have refused to follow the Lord your God and you follow another God, the love is no longer available for you as of that moment. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. It goes to point to the same thing, the will of God. Just as you have your own will, the will of the Lord and the mercy of the Lord, even though it's available for all, it goes to show that the Lord decides what He's going to do, when and how He chose to do that. I will have mercy on whom I have mercy. I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. And you may be wondering why then you also hear the Lord say in the passage when He speaks about no sin will go unpunished, for the Lord will punish all that have committed sins and evil things against the Lord. But also the Lord may choose to have mercy on you. For the mercy of the Lord has no bound. Nobody can tie the mercy of God. That is why when people decide to reject the mercy of the Lord, they blaspheme, and there is no mercy for such a person or such a people or such a group or tribe as we have seen. And I take you in the word of the Lord. I want to take you to the book of Genesis, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a background so that you can understand what we are saying better, so that you know how to behave and how to act as you look at what the Lord is doing. Let's go to the book of Genesis in chapter 25. In the book of Genesis in chapter 25, the word of the Lord gave me from verse 23 to verse 34. And I'm not going to read all of them. Maybe this is the first one and I'll read all. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples will be separated from your body. 2 peoples will be separated from your body. The one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. The one people shall be stronger, one shall be stronger, the older shall serve the younger. Who was the stronger one? You go to find out. When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were